Welcome to Life Biz and All That Jazz, the podcast where real talk meets transformation. I'm your host, Jasmine, and if you're new here, welcome. Welcome to the family, and if you've come back for more, thank you. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. So each week we dive into the raw, the messy, the unfiltered, the unmasking conversations. We are going to talk about sobriety, healing, becoming the best version of yourself, uncovering trauma. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And for those that have subscribed, thank you. Thank you very much. I do need to make a little warning at the start of this episode that there may be some conversations that are triggering. We do talk about sobriety, alcoholism, and addiction. So just want to let you know that at the start. Please read the show notes for more details on specific topics. Today's episode is for anyone who is wanting to change their relationship with alcohol. They want more clarity in their life and they're sick of having that shame over covering who they are and what they do in their daily life. Today I'm joined by Jacki Fleniken. She is a sober coach and an inspiration to us all of how much the impact of change and removing alcohol from your life can have on your life and your future. We talk about the raw, we talk about the middle, we talk about the transformation, we talk about where it all began. We both talk about our journeys. As I'm 2 years sober, Jacki is about 2.5 years sober. We really dive into the middle of it. We talk about the beginning, where we're at now, and what the future holds, because that's the beauty of everything. We have the ability to rewrite our story and create the future that we want to have and something that we're proud of. So that's enough from me. Let's bring in Jacki. Jacki Fleniken, welcome to Life, Biz, and All That Jazz.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jasmine. I'm so excited to be here.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm so excited for our conversation today because I know our listeners are going to have some really good takeaways and some really good insights to, what life's like before, during, and after. I'd love you to just share one key takeaway that our listeners are going to get from today. Just one little tip that you know that they're going to learn. One little key lesson.
I think the first one that pops into my mind is this. If your listeners are struggling with their drinking of alcohol, I want them to know they're not alone and to not feel ashamed, because I was that person as well. And I sat a lot of times in shame thinking something's wrong with me and that I was embarrassed and felt like so broken. And I just want you to know you're not alone and there's no reason to feel ashamed and they're not broken. You just have utilized a tool of using alcohol to either cope with depression, anxiety, or whatever reason it might be. But that I want you to know that there is freedom on the other side. There's freedom.
Thank you for sharing that, Jacki. That spoke to my soul because I understand that and I know how easy it is to put yourself in that position, but also just to think that there's no other option. And, this is just how I am. This is what I'm dealing. But really, we've learnt no other way at the time, have we?
No.
Yes. So thank you. That was a really powerful statement to start with. I'd like you to take it back. I'd like you to go back to, what your life was like before the transformation. You've obviously touched on a few points then. But yeah, go back as far as you want, explain as much as you want to explain.
I'll go back to December of 2021. I fell into a really bad depression. I was changing careers. My previous career, I was a bartender for 12 years. So I served people the drink that I eventually completely addicted to. And so to cope with my depression, I was drinking copious amounts of beer. I mean, when I say copious amounts, it was averaging 12 a day.
Yes.
It just, that 2022 is a blur to me because most of it was spent drinking and buying my beer and feeling ashamed. And then the anxiety just came. It was just, I'm not an anxious person. And I would have to drink a beer or two just to go to the store to go get anything I needed, grocery store or whatever. And I just fell into this horrible place. And it was 3 years ago, around this time, I had reached out to a girlfriend of mine because I knew she had stopped drinking, and we played phone tag. And I knew I had a problem, and I was starting to get scared. I had just gone through a celebration of life for a gentleman who was in his 70s, and his celebration of life was Unfortunately, he had passed from alcohol addiction, and it was not a pretty death that he went through. And then, like, probably about 4 or 5 weeks after he died, his best friend was found in his apartment, dead, with empty bottles everywhere. And I remember when my girlfriend told me, I was crying, and she said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "It's just so sad." And I thought, I didn't wanna say to her because I'm afraid that I could be next, because I knew it was out of control. But at that celebration of life for the first gentleman that had passed away, everybody who sat in that room, about 95% of the conversation was about all the stupid stuff he did while he was drinking, instead of all the things he did for his life that were amazing. The volunteer work, or the things that he did were just kind of just, and they were forgotten because it was all about the drinks. And I remember sitting there thinking, is this a legacy I'm leaving for my children? Is this what I'm gonna be like? Oh my gosh. And I'm sitting at this celebration of life. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, drinking beer. And the biggest thing is, I wasn't the only one. Everybody was, I mean, not everybody, but I would say probably 80% of the room was having some adult beverages, some alcohol. But I needed it because I was hungover from the night before. So I wanted to kind of, we all know, if those of you are heavy drinkers, or if you had that hangover, you just go, let me just drink a little bit of that beer and I'll get rid of the hangover. And it works, but then you usually drink all day. So that was really the turning point for me, because I knew something wasn't right, and I knew if I didn't change, I might not be alive to see my future grandkids.
Thank you for sharing that. It's really powerful because you were given the choice from being at a funeral, celebration of life, we'll call it. It sounds so much more nicer. And it often takes one point in life or something that we experience to make us think, what is this? Why am I doing this? And we get that chance to, change. For myself, it was 2 years now. I just went over 2 years sober. So I always drank, like, socially mainly. And then it got to a point, so from probably about 15, my mum and dad broke up. It was when I was 15. It was quite a, difficult breakup, difficult time, but everyone was going out. Where I lived, that was what we did on the weekends. Like, you went out. I still went to school. Like, we still did all this stuff. It was just the culture was partying, and I did it for years. And then I moved away, tried to cut back a little bit, and I did, but it still was always there. And after losing my dad at 28, it got to a point then when it started to be on my own. And I didn't think anything of it. You're watching all these shows and, like, you see all this stuff, and people online, they're just on their own having a wine, or, you have a stressful day, you come home, that's how you cope. But then for me, it started to be my coping, but also my joy. I worked in the hospitality industry in hotel management for over 10 years. So I know that it was a similar culture where, you're doing the shift work, you're around the F&B, food and beverage, and you kind of in that mode where people did do that. You do the late shifts, you go out after. It's just kind of celebrated. And also on the Gold Coast, Australia. So
Right.
it's like a party capital. I was there at the best years. But yeah, so what I started to notice is that I would have to drink for pre-drinking for social situations. I was masking and being a person that I was. And then it was the blackouts. It was the doing stupid things. Like, I never had a healthy relationship because I couldn't just have one drink. So fast forward now, obviously nearly 10 years, and when I was 35, which was 2 years ago, I had a bad breakup, and I was sitting on my own one night, and I was drinking, and I just had this feeling come over me. What are you doing? This is not the life that you deserve to have. And I think I always say I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones, because even though I did have the problem, it wasn't technically a problem in society standards.
Right.
But it was holding me back. It was making me depressed, and I would have to have a drink to get happy the next day.
Right.
And then it became like a weekly wine thing. I never drank in the morning though. I think I just kind of like got up with my dog and just did a few things, but it was always like the nighttime. And one of the things I realized in these last 2 years is I had ADHD.
Mhm.
So then that's where the biggest link was to the dopamine.
Mhm.
And that's how I was getting my dopamine.
Mhm.
And as well, as soon as I'd have that sip, I would have that euphoria, that real dopamine hit that I needed because I lacked so much. And here I am today. So 2 years, and now I probably won't drink because ever drink again. Like, it's hard because can't see into the future, but there's not one pro to or positive to drinking for me
Right.
anymore.
Mhm.
And it goes back now to the science-backed data. That's what kept me from drinking. I thought I'll try to
Mhm.
cut back. But when you got to set yourself limits, that's not healthy.
Mhm.
No.
No.
So what did it feel like for you, the recovery stage, when you had that decision, all right, something needs to change? What were the first steps that you put into place?
Well, I was searching and struggling trying to find the right thing. So the first thing was an app I put on my phone where it was like, try to say
Yes.
how many drinks you're going to drink today. So I would say, oh, I'm going to do 11 instead of 12. And then I'd have 12 and I'd lie. I just wouldn't say the 12th one because I noticed if I did that, I'd get a red mark. And I'm like, I don't want no red mark. You know what I mean?
Control.
I got to be the good student, right? So I got rid of that app. It didn't work. I did an event with Tony Robbins at the end of January of 2023. And that just I was still drinking and I was just trying to find my way. And he had done a free event. And I got inspired, but I knew I needed more, so I was able to find a science-based methodology that I just dove in and studied so intently. And when I first started on that journey, it was great because it was like, stop trying to stop drinking was the motto behind what I was studying. And it was like, just first get the knowledge, focus on the emotion and the feeling that you want to have in your life around your relationship with alcohol, and then drop the behavior. So by the time it was June 9th, 2023, I started on this journey April 1st when I found the science-based methodology. And so on June 9th, 2023 was what I would have called my day one. And I was nervous and I was scared, but I can say without a shadow of a doubt, since June 8th, 2023, I have not had a desire for alcohol. So I was able to really go in and understand, like you said, the science. Why is my body craving this? Well, because I stored it in my subconscious mind. And 95% of what we do is run by our subconscious. So it was on autopilot. And then the addiction just gets worse. The longer you drink, when I was in college in my 20s, university, I don't know if that's what you guys say over there, but when I'm
Yes.
in my after studies in university, I didn't drink 12 beers a day. I might have been lucky to drink 5 or 6 and that'd be it, So the longer you drink, the more alcohol it takes to get that buck, which then, so then I recognize, man, if I did not change, backpedal, if I was drinking 12 at age 54, where was I going to be at age 65? So in the beginning, it was all about, let's just see this experiment. Let's see what happens when I jump off the alcohol train. And you guys are all in my kitchen because this is where all my healing happened. And I've decided this is where I'm going to do all my podcasts. This is where I do all my coaching calls because this is where it all went bad. And this is where it all became great.
It's amazing.
Thank you. So in my first my first week or so, I pulled all the cabinet doors off. I painted the walls. I painted all the cabinets again. And I created what I call my empowering songs playlist. And I have these songs that I would just put on my Spotify and I would sit in this kitchen and I would dance and I would just continually remind myself, you're on your way. You're on your way. These songs that would just inspire me and get in my soul, because there's a gentleman named Dean Graziosi. And what Dean said, and this was probably around May of 2023. He said, all you got to do is a millimeter shift every day. And I remember sitting here at this table thinking, oh my God, is it ever? Well, oh my gosh, what do you mean? Like, because, we all think it's going to be a flip of a switch. Like, oh, it's going to be, let me just have it happen right away. Well, it doesn't happen that way. But I'm here to tell you that my 1 millimeter shifts have added up and added up and added up and added up. And my life has transformed exponentially. It's so hard to even explain to people. But what I found is, what I tell people is, it's not about being sober. It's about being free.
Oh, wow.
And I have freedom. I have freedom to choose. I have freedom to choose if I want to have a sip of alcohol. I choose not to because I don't like the way it makes me feel. And I'm not going to put that in my body anymore. But doesn't mean, but I get to choose. I used to be handcuffed to it. I used to be handcuffed so tightly to it. And now it's like, it's just a beautiful feeling. And I just want other people to understand, like you talked about, we used to get the euphoria from the hit, that dopamine hit of that first drink, right? Now life is like, I get so many cool dopamine hits now because of the clarity of life that I have in me. And I just want people to know, if you're struggling, there is a way to do it without having to go to meetings or having to call yourself the word alcoholic. Even just saying that word, it still just puts this negative goo feeling in my chest because it's such a disempowering word. It wasn't your fault you got addicted. You got a substance that they know is addictive. They just forgot to tell us.
Powerful. That was so powerful. Just continuing to speak to my soul. I really love this. This is a great flow on to from a lot of recent episodes that I've done about the mindset shifts and that you can do it. There's so many different things and so many different modalities out there for when it comes to people when they're healing and when it comes to wanting to get sober. And I'm really inspired by the way that you've done it as well, because I don't often connect with a lot of other people, professionals as well, that have done it in this way. I find it's very different. I love that your modality is different, the way that you do it. There's obviously other people doing it out there, what you said you've learned from, but when we know that we can do it on our own, I think I've always had that kind of mindset, and I really try to get that across to my listeners, is that we have the chance to change any single day, and it just takes the work and the millimeter steps, because one of my mottos is progress, not perfection. And I think once you remove that perfection, when it comes to perfection, you're just comparing yourself to someone else.
Right.
That's the only thing when it's perfection, because what's perfect? Anything that you do is perfect. I want to touch more on not having to do the meetings. I love that. I read on your website, that's something that really sparked me, is that you don't have to go to the meetings and you don't have to have that program and rehab as well, because I'm the same. I did the app and I tried to limit myself to, I think it was 4 drinks a fortnight. And look, at the start, I went all right. But then it's like I'm literally on an app and I'm checking in the alcohol that I'm drinking. I'm not counting my calories for a goal to lose weight. I'm counting alcohol, which is detrimental. It's a poison for my body and affecting my growth. So I just thought, no, this is not right. I'm stopping altogether. So once I started stopping, in the app that I was using every day, I was looking at the science-backed data and what it was telling me. Your brain's doing this. Your sleep's this. This is what your liver is now fixing, what you're coming back to. And that's what got me. I'm such an academic. I love to study. I'm studying neuroscience and mental health at the moment, which is just to share more benefits for the podcast, because I love doing the research. And that's what really made me think, this is what's happening to my brain. And then that's when I went down that path, and I didn't take no for an answer, because for years I was told I'd never had ADHD. For years. I was told higher functioning, depression and anxiety. I went through a lot of trauma when I was younger. I actually lost my dad. He took his own life. So that was another thing. So from then, that's when I mentioned the drinking was the nighttime. That was my coping, the pain. One thing else I want to mention, about a few months after, I think you'll probably find this interesting. Oh, and don't let me forget about the dancing thing. I'm going to write. I got my little notebook because I just remember so many things, and that's my brain. I put notes down because I think that's really important, because dancing's free and you can do it anywhere. But going back to a few months after I stopped, I cried. But at first I cried. I cried and cried and cried for months. And I know that was the pain that I pressed down from when I was younger. Obviously, my parents, I never really dealt with anything. And I think growing up in a household where my dad had his mental health struggles, he had bipolar, but he also did try to be the best dad. So he fought, he pushed through. And then there was my mum, all I saw was strength and get on, just kind of, you get on with it. And that different generation to what we have now. But that was years and years of bottling. So I felt like just all this stuff, like purging all these years of holding down all this pain. And I cried and cried. And sometimes we think, oh, that's not fun. It wasn't fun at the time. But that release that I had that the alcohol was blocking was remarkable. It was so incredible to think of how I feel about myself now, how present I am now, how I wake up every day with joy. Yeah, I have my bad days, but I'll just put some music on or a podcast on. That's life.
Right.
And I think the little things that we can do every single day, like you mentioned, and that's why I'd love for you to talk more about like your dancing routine, because I used to do a morning dance every morning. And I haven't done it as much now. The only reason why is my little dog passed away a couple of months ago. Yeah, and I had her for 16, and she was like my support network.
Aww.
Yeah, and she helped me, but obviously she also saw me through some of the worst years. And she saw me drunk and like crazy and that more than anyone, Yeah, but she was always there and she never judged. So that was something as well, as like when she went, that was our routine. In the morning, we'd dance together and do stuff. So it's been hard to shift from that. But then another thing is I also got this sense of like achievement and proudness that I never drank. I never had the urge to drink when I lost her.
That's freedom. That's
yes.
beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. It shows that you have rewired your brain to say to yourself, I don't need that to cope with this. I don't run to that. And that is like the gift we give ourselves when we really, really are able to rewire our thoughts, patterns, and beliefs around alcohol. Because just dropping the bottle is not enough. It's just that's just the physical part of it. And I know I went somewhere different than where you were going, but when I
nope, that's fine.
I tell people, it's like, if you just give up the bottle first and drop the alcohol, you're going to live on what they call willpower, and willpower is finite, and you're going to white knuckle it. And typically you're going to get exhausted from that, and you're going to have a crazy busy day. You're going to come home. Your kids are going to be frustrated. Your boss was kind of a jerk at work. You get home and you don't want to drink, but you're sick of white knuckling it because you haven't changed your feelings around and your emotions around why you drink. So that's beautiful that you've expressed that you were able to experience that, because that's one of the things I was going to say to your listeners was the beauty of really being able to sit with your emotions when you're not allowing alcohol to be a part of it. I've had a couple things that have taken me to my knees since I haven't had alcohol and quit drinking. But the beautiful thing was the same thing you said. I didn't run to alcohol. And the cool thing was you work through it so much faster, right, Jasmine? It's like, it doesn't linger on because you didn't squash it down and just numb out. And then it reappears the next day and the next day and the next. That was the life that I was living, especially my dad died in 2021. And
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. He had Alzheimer's, and it was time. It was one of those that he had a rough couple last years. And I cried a lot and drank a lot through it. And I just sobbed and all that. So I didn't really allow myself to heal the right way, because I was just imbibing alcohol just to numb everything out, because all the memories change when you lose a loved one close to you. My memories went back to childhood of Dad and I at the beach and me as a little girl, and all these memories were flooding through me. But that's a sidebar. I can do that too, honey. I just go all over the place.
Yeah, I love it.
But dancing, when I think about dancing, you find things like that's the core of who I was as little Jacki. Like, I was the one that my father and I would put on the record player, and he'd play an album and we'd dance together in the living room. And that is so much a part of my soul of who I am, that whenever I just decided music because I need it. I love it. And I'd dance in this kitchen like nobody's watching. And that to me is, find that thing that you love to do when you start on this journey, because some of you that are listening today are going to say, you know what, I agree with both of them. Alcohol's not serving me. You don't have to do it my way. You don't have to go dance all the time or whatever, but what is it that you love to do? Some people decided they want to go hiking all the time, or they go out on a bike ride, or whatever it might be. But I just decided create this Empowering Songs playlist because I wanted to also just keep putting in my brain these songs that motivated me, these songs that made me feel stronger and stronger and stronger inside, because alcohol makes you feel weak. And it takes that part of you away from you, because we felt weak, right? I mean, I felt weak because I could not. Why? Like 3 years ago, why can't I just not go a day without drinking? What's
Mm.
wrong with me? And I learned it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. I had a meeting today with one of our government officials because I'm bringing up some awareness to her of things that I'm seeing going on. I live in the United States, in the state of Pennsylvania, and I went to one of our state senators, and it was an interesting thing that she said to me. She said to me, well, when it comes to alcohol, people do have to take some responsibility because it's a choice. And I said to her, ma'am, I'm going to tell you something. When it becomes an addiction, it doesn't become a choice anymore.
Mm.
Control. It's in control. And unless you've lived it, you wouldn't understand. You can't see it through my lens.
That's right.
Yours. So I appreciate you saying that, but it's not as simple as that. It's
Mm.
simple as that. But I looked at her and I said, but I'm living proof that I got to the other side and I have freedom. And that's what I want to be able to help other people do, is find that freedom so they don't feel like they have to stay handcuffed to that bottle of beer, that bottle of vodka or liquor, or that bottle of wine. And they think that their life can't change, because neuroplasticity is a good thing. You talk about learning about the brain, and there's a saying, and I'm sure you guys might have it over there on the other side of the planet. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's a lie. It's a lie.
Yes.
You can retrain your brain, and you can't will it, but you can believe you can change it, and you can change it.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
Everything that you just said. With the first thing I want to start, neuroplasticity. That's like so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going on holidays soon. I'm getting a few tattoos, and because I'm going overseas, so I'm obviously in Australia, but I'm getting a brain tattoo because I just love the brain so much, and I just want that to inspire me. And I'm also getting a dopamine symbol, so that's off track. But
Awesome.
I've done an earlier episode on neuroplasticity, and I love that's kind of what's actually started me to dive more into brain research. And then I decided to do the course because I was doing all this research on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And then the algorithm showed the course to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to do that. But the power of mindset, rewiring our brain, like it's so underrated. And a lot of the times it's attached to that, you can't visualize, your life. It's woo woo. You know what I'm saying? Like, people think visualization and, imagining your future or vision board. Some people just, they put some negative aspect to it. But the power of visualization is that, like, our brain, we can trick our brain into actually thinking. Like, the dopamine hit we get from visualization and actually achieving it is similar. Like, our brain doesn't know the difference. And our thoughts can sometimes come without us. Like, we can't control every thought that we have, but we can control how we react to it or what we do next, the step that we do take next. And we are obviously a person, but then we're a soul, and, we've got our mind. Our mind is separate from our brain too. That's something that I get really passionate talking about.
Right.
So with approaching the Senate, so what type of, do you want to talk about that a little bit more first? I was quite interested in that. So were you trying to get some laws changed? Or yeah, I'd love to know a little bit more about that if you want to share that.
Our state of Pennsylvania has a very interesting, to buy liquor, you go to a state-run liquor store. And I went in there simply to see, I used to be a bartender, so I would love to be able to teach people how to make mocktails, because I can create it.
Oh, wow. You have to give me a recipe. I love mocktails.
Yeah, so it'd be fun. But I walk in my liquor store, they have a bottle of red wine and a bottle of white wine, non-alcohol, and that's it.
Yep. Okay.
So I wanted to talk to her about that, like along the lines of, there are people who don't drink anymore or who never drank, but want to create a fun mocktail. And in order to get that, we have to order it off the internet. So I talked to her about that. But the two things I really wanted to talk to her about was when we go into those liquor stores, there's nowhere that says if you have a problem or with your drinking, here's a number you can call, here's someone you can reach out to. But yet when we buy lottery tickets, I don't know if you guys have lottery over there, but when we buy lottery tickets in our state, it says if you have a gambling problem, call this number.
Yes.
So
Similar.
so I discussed that with her. And I discussed with her my concern about how since COVID happened, this town that I live in has an open container law where you can buy a beer from the local store, the local restaurant, and walk down the streets of my town. And
Oh, wow.
I'm concerned is we were having an event over the summer that my father started 47 years ago. It's a week
Oh.
event for the community, and it was a family friendly event. And they had wine being sold next to where they were handing out ice cream, free ice cream. And I have a problem with that. And that's because they've allowed this loophole. And I told her, I said, this, where has it become so acceptable that these events have to have alcohol? Like they're getting through it because of the loophole, but the state's allowing it. So,
Mm.
and a lot of our conditioning is what makes us think that drinking alcohol is okay for us. I was exposed to it as a child, but I love what you said a minute ago, not love, but the society standard. When did the standard in society be that it's okay to drink copious amounts of
Mm.
alcohol? Because we watch it on the movies. We watch it on television. The advertising never shows. They show the glamour, the fun. Ooh, I'm an athlete. When I'm done, give me a beer, right? Or I remember in Simone Biles, athlete. She was promoting barefoot wine after she won the Olympics, got her however many golds for the gymnastics here in the United States. And why? Why are we allowed? Like, what are you doing promoting something that you darn well know you're not going to drink and then go work out and be as a gymnast? So there's so many mixed messages that we're sending our youth. And so here I am at a kid-friendly event. These children shouldn't be seeing alcohol on this college campus that we're hosting a community event. So just bringing some awareness to her of like really explaining to her too, like most people think that there's their traditional method of AA or rehab. And she mentioned to me, and she brought it up in the United States. She says typically it takes someone 8 times to go to rehab to find freedom or to finally become sober, or they die. 8
Wow.
8 times, because we have a 4% success rate in our country with rehab. So I was trying to
Mm.
explain to her why what I do and why I want to be able to, put my name out there, put my website in these liquor stores so they have an option, because when you're that scared, you're hiding in shame behind a mask. So if you were to walk into somewhere, and I said to her, then they see this, and there's a QR code that goes right to my website. They don't have to write a phone number down, because then somebody will see it and they'll be nervous, but if they can just take a quick QR code of my website. So it's just really enlightening her of what I see through my lens that she's not quite seeing. She drinks here and there, but that's her choice, but she didn't have a problem like I did.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I know that there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions and millions of people they're in the same boat I was in. And they just want to know that there's a safe space that they can go to. And that's all I'm trying to do is just keep spreading the word that there is hope on the other side. You're a living testament. I'm so proud of you. You get it. You're 2 years. I mean, whoo, woo, woo. I know it's like, isn't it amazing to look back at where we were and where we are now?
I know.
And just to let people know that are listening, if you're struggling, you don't have to forever. You don't have to forever. And
Mm.
find that freedom. It's the best gift you could ever give yourself. Because I'll tell my clients, I'm like, remember, everything we're doing right now is for your future self. And it was powerful what I did. You just talked about visualization. So one of my clients yesterday, I sat with her and I had her close her eyes, and she hasn't had anything to drink for 9 days. So she's new. But I said, I want you to start visualizing, because she's already started telling me how the way she's feeling now. So I was really diving into that with her. How are you feeling? Tell me when you wake up in the morning. Tell me about your, the afternoon. We went through, focus on the feeling, the positive feelings, right? And I had her close her eyes, and I said, okay, let's close your eyes. And I want you to visualize you wake up, it's a year from now. Go in the mirror in the bathroom and tell me what you see. How's your
Oh, yeah.
eyes look? What's your energy like? And I took her through that at 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. I said, tell me what you're feeling. It was beautiful. It was beautiful for her. I could see the change in her. Her eyes were closed because I didn't want her to look at me. And I said, and you could see the transformation just in her face talking about it. So when people think visualization is woo-woo, it's not. Because it's powerful to really try to see, where can I be? Especially when we were in such a bad place, right? And we're just like grasping and praying and hoping for something better. And so I love being able to let people see it on their own, and not just my story. Let's visualize yourself going there. And so now she has those memories to have that she has in her brain now. Hopefully they just keep replaying for her of 10 years from now, 20 years from now.
Be the change you want to see in the world. And I think that's really powerful, and that's exactly what you're doing. And I feel like I'd love to, in 12 months time, touch base with you again, and we'll stay connected now. But, I just have this feeling that you're going to get that, you're going to get something, you're going to get that change. I can just feel it. And you're going to keep fighting, keep going to the Senate, because it takes about 8 times before someone really tries to decide something. That's a neuroscience thing. Get in their faces. And I think, that's beautiful that you're offering that help, because there's so many options. And you said the 4% success rate, that's so low. Wow. Yeah. Something I want to touch on, we're talking about like advertising and stuff like that. So here in Australia, you don't really advertise alcohol as much. One thing that's quite interesting is every year the the high school leavers finish school and they go to the Gold Coast. It's called schoolies. I don't know if you've heard of it, but like spring break probably type thing. Yeah. So it's for when you finish high school. So you're probably about 17. And the last few years, the clubs, after it's finished, they're talking on the news and stuff, how the numbers are down at the bars. So there is kind of a newer generation, I think, that is a little bit more aware, but there's still going to be those people in that generation that aren't.
Right.
And like why they can share all these statistics, and I'd love to really see the numbers, because they're trying to say, over the years, in the 70s, it went up, it kind of went down again. Then it went up, that's kind of like the graph of drinking and money spent. But how much of that is not fed by the media to make us think that it's declining? So I'm like that two-person side. Yes, they could be telling us things are changing, all this stuff's changing, but is it? Is it really? Are these numbers kind of promoted by the back end? And I'm getting in my little conspiracy hat on here.
Right.
Yeah. Well, alcohol-free drinks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually a little bit luckier that there's more than 2 options here.
Yeah.
So I walk into the store and not many people can do this. So I know that if you're listening right now and you're thinking, I can't do a substitute, because it's not as easy, I think, for us, different in our situation, but some people the substitute is triggering. So I do understand that. So one thing you could start with is soda water.
Yeah.
Soda water with some flavor.
Yeah.
Because the thing with soda water is the bubbles. If you're in an event and you're not drinking, it's the first event you're at, you're there and you're not drinking, and you want something, have a soda water and lime, because it's the bubbles, especially for me, like I loved my Prosecco and sparkling and all that stuff. So that's something. But with the alcohol, you can get to a point where I'd love to have go to a party now and I'll take a alcohol-free Prosecco, or get one of the mixers and make like a nice mocktail. So I'm interested to see some recipes. You have to give me some recipe tips. Like I was saying, is we do have more options now. But I'll walk into the store and where's the alcohol-free section? And they kind of just look at me like this is a massive liquor store. And they're like, oh, it's over there. But now we have it in the supermarkets, alcohol-free, quite a big range. So it is changing, but not enough, I don't think. Not enough. And then it's that support side. So I'd love to talk more about your approach. I know at the start of the episode you mentioned about you learnt some science-backed method. Yeah. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah. So what I love about how I started on this journey was it was about it. Don't stop trying to stop drinking. So the premise behind that is get the knowledge first, learn, which I teach a lot of different things. I teach them about why they're addicted and why their body's acting a certain way and all the different things that are going on, the society standard, that the beliefs that we have around it. And then we start focusing on our life goals, emotion and behavior and really all of that. And then finally at the point where we are ready, then we take what we call the experiment and let's take a break from it. We don't ever say to people things like you're quitting drinking, because that will immediately make your brain go, whoop, no, you're not. Your subconscious mind's going to say, I know better than you. You're not going to do this. So we work very carefully with the words that we use. And then I help them come up. It's not for me to tell them what to say or what to do. It's for me to guide them, that they have the answers inside. I just help guide them to find those answers. So like I said, I teach them a lot. And the biggest thing is the feelings and the emotions, because once you can really focus on that, because I'll tell you guys a quick story. So my boyfriend, who I met last October on my birthday, and he drank on our first date because he was nervous, but he wasn't a big drinker. Maybe once a week he'd have maybe a Guinness at the end on Thursday. He doesn't work on Fridays. And so he had that drink the first day and never drank again around me, and then had a drink at Thanksgiving with his family. And he said to me, God, Jackie, I don't think I really like the way this wine tastes. I said, well, that's the thing. Notice what you're feeling and how the taste is. So he ended up at Christmas. His son came home. His boys came home because they're all grown. And he called me afterwards. He said, Jackie, I drank half of this beer and it just tastes horrible. And I said, that's because I told you, start focusing on really how it tastes and then the way it makes you feel. And he hasn't drank anything since then, because he said,
Wow.
I realized that I was doing it because socially, when I would go out with my friends, my guy friends, they're like, why aren't you drinking? Well, number one, he was driving, but for them, sometimes that wasn't even enough. Like, well, just have one. Well, somebody who doesn't really drink a lot, even one's going to put you over the limit to drive. But what I love was he just noticed how it was making him feel. So fast forward about 8 months into our dating, he calls me and he had sent me a photo. He had gone out to dinner and he sent me a picture of this non-alcoholic beer he had gotten. And it was different. And I think it was from Holland, or I think so. So he calls me afterwards and he goes, Jackie. I said, what? He goes, I'm so proud of myself. I said, what'd you do, baby? He said, I didn't care what anybody thought about me having that NA beer in front of me. I said, honey, that's freedom. That's what I feel. Welcome to my world. So
Wow.
his perceptions he had that all these other people were before he was worried. Now he's,
that makes me emotional. Yeah. I understand that.
yeah, because it was about how he feels. He stopped worrying about what everybody else felt. And I was so proud of him, because it's like, that's freedom. That's freedom.
Oh, that really made me emotional, because that's the beauty, and that's why I love to share my journey, and that's my journey is an overall healing, and I love what you do, because you're not just being the change for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have that fire. I don't know if you refer to it as fire, but you've got that feeling inside of you that it's so much better on the other side. And it can be hard to explain.
It is hard.
We can kind of talk it now in our like way of doing it, but it's like a feeling. It's that constant joy, and
Mm-hmm.
it's present. It's being present. And when you do things like that, you slowly will do certain things and you'll be like, I'm proud of myself. How many people can say that they're proud of themselves?
Right.
And I say that wholeheartedly now, not thinking, oh, like someone's going to think that, you know, judge me for saying it, because we're not really taught to talk about ourselves and, you know, to love ourselves and to have that self-love and compassion, because, you know, it's just not really something that we're taught. But, you know, it's the power to freedom is to have that respect and self-love, and that's when it all comes together.
Right.
And the feelings, I think just the feelings. One thing that you mentioned about thoughts before, and we touched on it also a little bit earlier, is that having thoughts is, you know, you're going to kind of come up in the middle of that process, you're going to have thoughts that are going to tell you, like shame, like you said about, that's right, I remember now. The quit, you mentioned about saying the quitting and quitting drinking and those terms that are going to trick your brain, because at the start, your brain is going to want to be safe. It's going to want to stay with comfort. So like you mentioned, that using those words at the start is not the best to do it. It's not the way to do it in general. I think, as well as like you're in that position where your mind's not able to kind of react to thoughts in certain ways. But tell me if you feel like this is similar, but as you get along, if you have a thought, a negative thought, instead of the first thing thinking of is like, oh, I need a drink, I need this, and just be like, you actually sit in it. You sit in why you're having that feeling, why you've been triggered, or, you know, why you're upset about something, why you've had a bad day. You really just sit there and you actually like process the moment. Another thing as well is, I think, is grief, dealing with grief. And that's something I've learned recently, losing my dog. And she was like a person to me. So she was a big part of my life. Is I've just dealt with it so different compared to when I lost my dad. First thing I found out when my dad passed, I need a wine. First thing I did, it was like 11 or 12 o'clock at night. I had a drink because and then it got worse and worse. And obviously that's when it went downhill. But with losing Prinny, that's my dog's name. And losing her, I cried. Yeah. For one whole week, I didn't want to do anything, which is, you know, then I got a bit better, but I really sat in that. And I feel like I will still miss her. But the way I feel now about the grief is that I think of the good times, and, you know, it's like a different type of way of dealing with pain. And there is another way. That's kind of the overall story of that. There is another way. And what we're doing now.
So I want to go back to something you said, because I got so many thoughts go in and out of my mind.
I know, and I talk a lot. I say a lot.
We have 70 to 80 thoughts a day, right? But
yeah,
what you talked about a minute ago was, and what I want to share with your listeners is, what we have is called cognitive dissonance. And that's where we consciously want something to change, but we're arguing with ourselves because the subconscious is saying, no, it's not going to work. You know, your subconscious stores everything. It knows you better than you know yourself, because how many songs have you not heard for, like, I don't know, 30 years, and it plays, your subconscious goes, here's the lyrics. Here you go. Sing it now. Right. It's crazy. It's crazy. When my boyfriend and I were like doing old like theme songs to TV shows, and it's amazing how many we could bring back up from our subconscious mind. Anyhow, sorry, sidebar. But so think about all the things that we have had sneak into our subconscious. But let's talk about, like, when your brain doesn't know that alcohol is bad. It just knows when you drink it, you get a dopamine hit. It knows that what you did through the course of years of drinking, it registered. Oh, wait, she's depressed. She's stressed. She got a beer. Ding, dopamine hit. It registered it in the back of it registered in the subconscious mind. So what happens when I tell people is, don't beat yourself up if you didn't want to drink today, because you have these two voices that talk to you. The one that when you wake up in the morning that's shaming you, going, oh my God, Jackie, I can't believe you drank again. What are you, an idiot? You're this. That voice loves me. That voice loved me so much, right? It knew it didn't mean to shame me. It was trying to slap me a little bit, going, come on, get out of this, right? And then 4 or 5 o'clock rolls around. And I'm thinking, remember in the morning, I said, I'm not going to drink. But then 4 or 5 comes around. hangover's gone. I've had my day. And all of a sudden I think that voice over here says, come on, go ahead, have your drink now. You've had a great day. You did everything you wanted to do. It's time to, it's time to relax. Or let's say it was a good day. I wasn't stressed or anything. Like, come on, let's celebrate. You had a great day. Well, that voice loves me too, because it recognized that when I go to get that drink, I have this dopamine hit. So whether it be from stress, if I'm dealing with stress, coping with anxiety, whatever it might be, both of those voices love you. And so I have my clients, I work with them on which, like, don't shame yourself. It's okay. It loves you. So when I would wake up in the morning and I would have that as I'm still drinking on my journey to taking my experiment to not drink, which has now been over 2 years and I don't know, 4 months, I would say to myself in the morning, as I'm looking in the mirror going, oh my God, I drank 10 last night. I'd go, it's okay. You're working on this. I know you're here to tell me you love me. And I promise you, I'm working on this. So I would learn, I tell my clients, you learn to communicate with the thoughts that come in.
Yes.
They're there for a reason. And don't shame yourself, especially when it comes to anything. We should not shame ourselves at all. We have learned to grow up shaming ourselves and putting ourselves down all the time. And look where it gets us sometimes. So I just wanted to expound a little bit on that there's so many things that go on in our subconscious. We're not really aware, obviously, because they're hidden in the subconscious, of things that we do that we can start recognizing and becoming aware. Because one of the things that I love to tell people is, all change happens on the other side of awareness. And once you become aware, so like my clients will tell me something, they'll say something to me, and then we'll dive into it. And then I'll help break that belief they might have. And because they became aware of something, then it's like, okay. And I call them out on it too. Is it really true what you just said to me? And it's amazing too, Jasmine. I'm sure you've experienced this. There's so many thoughts or so many beliefs that I had and probably still have. They're not even my own.
Yes.
Someone else gave them to me. So it's fun to start questioning them, because I'm like, whoa, like wait, is that something I believe? Like my mom, I became my mom, and my kids will be getting ready to go to school. And I'm like, oh, you have to have a jacket on. You'll catch a cold if you don't have a jacket on. Well, I learned that from my mother. Is it really true that if they leave the house without a coat on, they're going to get a cold? Probably not, but my mother taught
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean? So how many other things have snuck into our subconscious mind that became our beliefs that weren't even our own? And it's a lot of time those beliefs are because of experiences, observations, assumptions, which then create these conclusions, which then become beliefs, which aren't even sometimes even really true beliefs.
I'm big on beliefs, reconditioning and creating our own beliefs, boundaries,
Right.
and really uncovering and doing that deeper work to see the patterns. Why am I like this? Where has this come from? And a majority of the time, certain things that we have, traits that we have and behaviors that we have are really just conditioning that we had to grow up with, or coping mechanisms that we didn't really have another option for. Our brain's just trying to keep us safe, and it always comes back to that.
Right.
So I think, beliefs is really, really important. And something else I love is, like you mentioned, the shame and forgiveness, I think, is a big part as well. Do you find forgiving yourself? Because that's when you kind of start to remove the shame and the guilt. You can't go back and change the past. There's nothing you can do to change where you've been at the time. We're all just doing our best.
Right.
Most of the time. And if you're listening to this podcast now, you're trying to change. You didn't put this podcast on because you just wanted to randomly listen to something. Like, you've seen the topic, you understand what I share. And if you're new here, welcome to the family. That's what I always say to my new listeners. And you're trying to have that change. You've got that thought, and when it first comes to a lot of uncovering and seeing where you are in your life and what you want to change, you do have to come through removing the shame and the guilt and forgiving yourself and forgiving your past versions of you, because every single day is a new day, and every single day we have the option to become a new person and become a better person. I think that's what's just so powerful with life. Like we get the choice.
Right. And I truly believe if you're here listening, you're here for a reason. You're
Yes.
because I truly believe in higher powers. I truly believe in my guardian angels. My mom's been up there for 21 years. And, I do believe there was a lot of divine intervention to bring me the things that I needed to at the time that I needed them.
Mm.
Understand too, don't shame yourself because you're only using the tools that you only had available at that time. And be proud of who you are and just be proud of knowing that you can change, like Jasmine said. It takes work, but it's worth it because here's the thing I tell people, who's going to be with you for your entire life? Only
Yes.
only yourself. No one's going to take care of you better than you. Don't think that anybody else ever is because you got to take care of yourself. And Matthew McConaughey did this event here in the United States, and he might have had it everywhere for all I know, but it was the art of living based upon his book Road Trip. And
Oh, okay. Interesting.
yeah, it was wonderful. It was like broken into 9 different road trips, and he did Zoom calls, and we got on. It was wonderful. But I remember one of the lessons was about being more selfish. It was all about more this, more that, more this, whatever it might be, more selfish. And why I'm sharing this with you guys, because it's like you touched on it a little bit earlier. But what I loved when he taught me about more selfish, he said, it's not about he goes, we're always taught to not be selfish. He said, I'm not talking about being selfish where there's 3 cookies on the table and there's 4 of us or there's 4 of us, we've all had a cookie and there's only 3 left and you grab the last one because you're being selfish. That's not what he's talking about. He was talking about be selfish to take care of you. Make sure you take
Yep.
time for yourself. Don't just always be on the go. Take care of your kids, your husband, your spouse, whoever it might be. Check out from them to take care of you, because if you're not one of the things I teach my clients is make sure you're staying above 50%, because in this journey, in the very beginning, we're dealing with so many different emotions and we're dealing with healing and we're getting rid of having this substance, something that we were so addicted to that was controlling us. Make sure you stay above 50% and because you can't pour from an empty bucket. Got to take care of yourself. So be more selfish, but do it in a way that's helpful. I hope people understand what I'm saying. It's like, it's okay to
Mm.
be selfish to take care of yourself. Like,
Yes.
stay on an airplane, put the oxygen mask on first before you put it onto your child, because you have to make sure you are able to breathe. So remember that, guys. Take care of yourself. It's okay to be selfish. It's okay, because no one's going to take care of you better than yourself.
I agree with that. And it's especially for yourself, you're a mother. I'm not. Like for me, it's just I'm on my own. So I have a lot more time, and I know I
Right.
only really have to put myself first. But then I also have a lot of empathy. I've got my family, and I do put a lot of effort into being there and supporting my family. So it always comes back to knowing, like you said, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Mm-mm.
And even 5 minutes. And that's why when I have a lot of my solo episodes and you talk about things that I've learned and what I'm doing, I always try to give 2 options. Some for the busy mums, because my 2 best friends, they're busy mums. I know they're in the thick of it. So it's like you don't often get time. And I think we've grown up to think that mum's busy, and especially now, in a time now, most households, the 2 parents have to work here in Australia anyway. If you want to go on holidays, the cost of living is not getting any cheaper. So
Right.
you're constantly busy, 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 busy. But it's I was speaking to like mums, or even if dads do more at home, like either way, you're working, you're looking after the kids, or we're in a time where there's so much digital technology. It's so easy not to have time for ourselves. But I always say 5 minutes in the morning, like 5 minutes, just try and get up 5 minutes earlier before the kids get up, or just set that time. And it's just having that little time. And it might only be that to start with, but then once you start to really uncover everything and work out things that you want to change. And I'm big on journaling.
Yeah.
Journaling thoughts and feeling. It kind of all trickles. You really start to have that self-awareness journey and want to become better.
Mm-hmm.
Then I feel like I'm going a little bit off topic here, but I'm kind of back in that being that selfish, and having that time will start to flow out everywhere else. For my situation, when it come to stopping drinking, I had to be selfish and say no to events at the start because I just didn't want to go. It's not even that there was going to be alcohol there. I could go to stuff like that. But it's like, I'm not just going to go. That was my boundary. Setting boundaries in being selfish, that's going to take my energy. I'm already feeling low. I need my energy for other places. There's so many ways that we can flow and be selfish. But one thing I want to finish up with is talk more about your coaching. And I love that you're like judgment free. I love that. I think that's really powerful. So do you want to touch on more about what you do, the best ways to get in contact with you? Because I'll link all your details in the show notes. People will be able to get in touch, follow you on social media. But yeah, I'd love to hear more from your side.
Yeah. So I have a website, and it's coachingbyjacki.com, which is my name is, as you guys see here, which is with an I. And in there, you go in and learn a lot about me. I have an about me page that really goes into my story. I don't dive real deep into it because I know that I could talk forever. So, but the biggest thing is I have a link on there for people to schedule a free call with me, because the biggest thing is just having someone to listen to that understands and is here for you, that no matter what you're going through, I would never judge because I know what it's like. I'll never forget being the woman sitting on my front porch 3 years ago, desperate for change, desperate for change. And, there's times I think about, she didn't answer. It went to her voicemail. She had quit drinking and she called me back and went to voicemail. That's the pattern. It happened and we never spoke. And I'm okay with that because it got me to where I am today. And I think my mission and my purpose in life at this point is to be the inspiration for other people and to have them know that I'm safe for them to talk to. And I'll guide them the right way. When I put together a coaching package, it's really customized to each individual because everybody's in a different part of their journey. I have helped some people I've had clients who maybe went 6 months to a year without drinking and then started drinking again. I have people who have just spontaneous sobriety because they went to prison. And when they got out of prison, because they got out after 90 days, now I'm coaching them to make sure they stay on the right track and rewire their thoughts, patterns, and beliefs around alcohol. So I'm just a safe space. So I just want people to know that just get to know me. Go to my website, see who I am, see what it is that I do. And I'm just really thankful to Jasmine that you had me here to share my story, because just want people to know, just because you are where you are right now doesn't mean you have to stay there. Doesn't mean you have to stay there. And I'm going to tell you guys, I have more fun now because I'm back to being my true, authentic self. I was at a meeting the other night. Our class reunion is next year. And for 40 years, can't believe I'm at 40 years out of high school. But you weren't even born yet. Were you?
No, I'm like 20 years.
Right. So we're at this meeting the other night and I just was so goofy. I had no alcohol in me. I had the girls all ripped laughing up because I'm just being like, and they're just laughing. And it's just, I can just be, that's like who I've always been. And it's fun. So just, you guys, just want people to know I'm always here for them to listen. And I'd love to talk to any of them. Even if you just need someone to just shoot the shit with for a few minutes, I'm here for you.
Oh, thanks, Jacki. That's so beautiful that you're offering that and you want to be the change in the world, because it's powerful. And something you just mentioned before we wrap up today, I think is really fun, is that you feel like you have more fun now. Mm-hmm. And I do. I'm the same. And a big thing for me is I grew up masking certain parts of myself. And I know that had a lot to do with ADHD and, kind of trying to fit into a box when I'm a triangle. Or not even a triangle. I'd say more like a cloud. I'm not even a generic shape. And now I love that. I know that my brain is unique, but that's me. I've really accepted that. And there's only positives to it now, because I've really fixed all the parts, that the overthinking, the anxiety. And again, we're all going to have days that aren't the best, but it's about learning how to cope through those days without having to turn to something and just relying on ourselves. Right. But yeah, the fun thing, I love that, because I just have so much fun. I still go out. Like, I don't have a lot. If it's a birthday, I'll probably stay out a bit later, or I'll still go to the races, like all these, events where everyone there's drinking. And it's quite funny too, because people are like, how does you still look so good in all the photos throughout the night?
Mhm.
Because instead of looking like drunk eyes or my hair, and then even like I had a friend's birthday one night. We went to dinner and went out for drinks, and then they stayed out till quite early hours in the morning. Then the next day we had booked this booth at a day club, a pool day club, and this was in summer here. And I rocked up like all ready to go, like all, and they're all just dragging themselves out of bed. And it's funny. They laugh at it because I guess for them, it's never really been, it's like every now and then. A lot of my friends never really had like the deeper wounds and stuff with drinking. I think my friends have slowly over the years, they've cut back as well.
Mhm.
And more conscious about it. So you're not just, doing it for yourself. And I think that can be something that can be quite scary is if you only know people in that scene. When you catch up with people, all you do is have a drink.
Right.
But it changes and you can still have the right people will stay
Mhm.
and you'll still have the moments and then you'll go there and you'll take a non-alcoholic
Mhm.
bottle of wine and then you'll share that together. The right people will still always be there. And I think that's powerful.
Right.
One thing I love to wrap up the episodes with going back to your younger self or
Mhm.
giving her some advice, what would you say if you could go back and just whisper in her ear?
You know, I think I'd probably look at her or whisper to her and say, "You're gonna go through a lot of things in your life, and you're gonna come to a point where you think that you're broken, and you're gonna find this resiliency inside of you you didn't realize was even there. You're
Mm,
gonna realize that you might have stuffed down that part of you that nothing scared you, but you're gonna find your resilience again, and you're gonna be amazing. Don't ever give up." And, I guess probably the other biggest thing I had to work very hard on is being okay to speak up because I was
yeah.
silenced a lot as a kid. I'm the youngest
Mm,
of 4 girls. So, I would just remind my younger self that you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be great. You're gonna hit some bumps and bruises along the way, but you're in the end, you're gonna be the best version of yourself that you could have ever imagined.
oh, I love that. I love that. I have similar ways of answering that myself. Do you have any quotes or mantras that you go by? Mine's progress, not perfection. That's a big one.
Oh, every day in every way, I'm getting stronger and stronger is one.
Oh,
Um,
I love it.
every day in every way. That's one that the one thing is, it's like, well, my kid taught me this one. Well, not my kid. My goodness, it's hard when your kids could turn into their 20s. You still visualize them as children, but my third adult child, Carter, said to me one time, "Mom is not the first thought that matter; it's the second." And I like
Yeah.
people
Wow.
that remind myself of that too. Like if that thought comes in, that's not necessarily the one I want. It's like, okay, what lane are you going to put it in, Jackie? But I have a lot of different mantras here in my kitchen too. I have
Yes, I love that you've done that.
all over the place. It's just like different things to remind myself. I have emotional mastery triads that I learned from my Tony Robbins one-on-one coach that I do with my clients now. Different emotions I want to step into. So I go back and relive a time in my life that I was courageous, which is when I was a field hockey player. So I'd step into those emotions to remind myself of you were a badass when you stepped on that field hockey field. You had no fear. I step into her a lot. She reminds me because that was a part of my life when I was really powerful. I had
Mm,
confidence in myself and had, nothing scared me when I put that field hockey stick in my hand. And so
yeah.
I remind myself, you have it in you. You just gotta
Yes.
go for a while. Everybody has it in them. There's always a point in your life when you go through any positive emotion you want to feel. There's a time in your life you have felt that. It just got squashed down. Somebody threw their goo on you. Some
Mm,
goo. And unfortunately, you let it stick. So now I try to get it off me as quick as I can if somebody throws their goo on me. But
yeah, and that's it. It's someone else's perception. But
right,
I
exactly.
think it was very powerful to end on what you just said then is that we have everything we need.
Yeah,
We have everything we need and you're not alone.
right.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to share? I feel like we've wrapped up a great conversation today, but
This is just fantastic, and I appreciate you being here, and I just want, like I said, your listeners to know
thank you.
you're not broken. You just got to get the tools to be able to find the life that you want, because life is amazing. And if you're struggling with your addiction to alcohol, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone, and you're not broken, and you're not a bad person. Don't shame yourself. You just got yourself addicted to a substance that they didn't tell you was going to be addictive.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect way to put it. Couldn't have said it better myself. Another thing, you're not broken. I've got a mantra. You're not broken, you're becoming. Yeah. All right, Jacki. Well, thank you again for your time today. It was such an inspiring and fun chat because, I know you understand what it's like, and we just got to keep spreading the word that there's possibility on the other side.
Exactly. It's time for us to change this, the society, the standard in society. It's time to change it.
Yeah, we're going to do that one day at a time. One day at a time. Oh, what you were saying about your quotes in the background, that's kind of what I've got here. You can't really see them a lot because it's a bit blurry. But the one at the top, it says 1% every day.
Yep.
Like what you said.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, Jacki. And to everybody else, I will see you next week. And just remember, it's progress, not perfection.